All right, so this is a hobby horse that I've been on for a long time, and I finally convinced somebody in another country that I was right about this, so I thought I'd make a video about it. So I've been spending the past year plus traveling around the world. I've been through South America, East Asia, Northern Africa, and Europe. And one of the big things is Americans use, Fahrenheit, feet, ounces, while the rest of the world uses the metric system, imperial versus the metric system. Now, I'm not getting into an argument about meters versus feet and all that type of stuff. Like, I'm willing to concede that we're wrong, even though I don't think we are. I'm willing to concede that, whatever. But one of the hills that I will die on is that Fahrenheit is better than Celsius, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. So, like, the main reason is because Fahrenheit is a much more intuitive measurement for what temperature is, right? So if you look at Fahrenheit, right? Fahrenheit is basically a 0 to 100 scale of how hot is it, right? 0 is really, really cold, 100 is really, really hot, and 50 is pretty normal, right? While Celsius, 0 is really cold, 50 is you're dead, and 100 is you've been dead for weeks, right? Like, all of the measurements are between like 0 and 30, maybe up to 35, right? But like, humans don't think about things on a scale of 0 to 35. We think of things in base 10 metrics, base 100 metrics, right? So 0 to 100 is how we judge everything, right? Like, if when you get grades in school, it's on a scale of 0 to 100. When you rate how good of a restaurant it is, right? Even like 5 stars, like, we see that, we just multiply it by 2 and it's a 10, right? Because even 5, on a scale of 0 to 5, they have like 3.5 stars, which really means that it's out of 10, right? And yeah, so Fahrenheit really is the question. On a scale of 0 to 100, how hot are you? And Celsius is, you need to actually have an understanding of everything in Celsius in order to understand that. And so the way that I convinced somebody of this yesterday, and this is going to be my way of convincing people about this from now on, and I want you to try this, right? Especially if you use Celsius, right? So don't look at the temperature at all, right? And if you already have, then wait until tomorrow, right? And just ask yourself, on a scale of 0 to 100, how hot is it right now? What is that scale, right? And then check your phone and check what the temperature is. I promise you're going to be within like 3 or 4 degrees, right? And this is what happened last night. Is that, like, I was talking to this person in Brazil, and I asked her, like, we're talking about Celsius versus Fahrenheit. She didn't know what the temperature was. I said, okay, so on a scale of 0 to 100, how hot do you think it is? And she said, I don't know, 74, 75. And I checked the temperature, it was 72. Right? So somebody who doesn't even know Fahrenheit, has never used Fahrenheit in their entire life, can, outside, guess the temperature of Fahrenheit within 2 to 3 degrees. Like, that isn't... Like if you actually conceptualize that, it is mind-blowing how intuitive the system is. That people who have never used the system, never, can guess the temperature with that system within 2 or 3 degrees, just like that. Well, so again, like Celsius, you have no ability to do that. And now that I've kind of proven this point, like, just one last thing, because like people, whenever like I travel and I talk about Fahrenheit versus Celsius, people like always like say this thing like, oh, arrogant Americans, like, you guys are so stupid, you use Fahrenheit. And the arguments for Celsius is like, the experts say that this is objectively correct, scientists do it, like, it's 0 to 100 of when water boils, right? But the thing is, like, in your actual day-to-day life, like, when does that actually matter? Like, when does the temperature of water freezing or boiling actually, like, matter that much? And also, like, just remembering the piece of information that water freezes at 32, like, that's just a simple piece of information that everyone who uses Fahrenheit remembers. Like, that solves all of those problems, right? And so, like, I think this really, like, especially Americans versus Europeans, I don't really know Latin America as much as I know Europe. I'm really familiar with Europe. My family's from there. Is that Europeans have this mindset. It's a very, like, expert-driven, authority-driven mindset, right? It's like, oh, like, you know, the professors and the universities and the experts say that this is the correct way of doing this, so this is how all of society must comport ourselves, right? And if you look at countries like Germany, for instance, Germany has a really terrible startup culture for exactly this reason, right? Germans are like an incredibly innovative, dynamic country, like, you know, have that type of culture, but they aren't able to produce any new startups or any new companies because everyone is in this box, right? And the thing about America is that, you know, we don't really believe in these boxes, right? So like Fahrenheit, you know, like our system is like, who cares like if the scientists say it's right or not? Like it's hard for day-to-day people to use it. So let's use let's use a system that's easy for everybody to use it. It's built for regular people. It's simple and it's straightforward. And that's just kind of like an overall American ethos towards life that I've noticed that the rest of the world doesn't really have, right? And to be honest, like, you know, I think that that's part of the reason for our success. So if you look at, this is American GDP versus Europe, versus Latin America, versus East Asia, like, you know, America is the richest country in the world on a per capita basis. Even if you factor in like other countries that are richer on a per capita basis, like for example like Switzerland, like I don't think that's technically legitimate. One of the reasons why, or like the reason why, is because Switzerland is more like the European Union as a whole is more like the United States, and each country is kind of like a state within the European Union. Like Switzerland doesn't have a self-sustaining economy, right? Switzerland's economy is based upon interaction with the rest of Europe. So like it's not fair to compare Switzerland to the United States. You have to compare Switzerland to like Connecticut, and Connecticut has a much higher GDP per capita than Switzerland, right? So my point is that, you know, Fahrenheit is easier, it's more intuitive, it's something that people who have never used Fahrenheit before can easily grasp, and I think that, you know, because people in the rest of the world like to shit on America for being stupid and not understanding these things, not wanting to go the way that they do things, I'm pushing back and saying that our emphasis on simple and straightforward systems and not just doing things because like an egghead professor tells us to, but doing things because we think it makes sense is one of the reasons for American exceptionalism and why, you know, we're such a dominant country. Anyway, let me know what you think. I gotta figure this out. Okay, I got it. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on X. I figured out. I gotta point. There's a plant over there. When I want to do this, I'm gonna point to the plant. Anyway, thanks.